Getting this oil linkage hooked up here. These things are always a little tricky. You got to wind this thing around one time so it's got some tension on it. And then I've already got this in this particular model on this year. The bracket is on the pump, the oil pump. Later years, they put the bracket on the magneto cover. Okay, but this one, it's on the pump, so I actually had to get a pump that had this bracket on it because my magneto cover did not have the little mounts for it. So having to futz around with this, but you got to wind this thing around this way, and then you got to put this little barrel thing on it so that it catches. Adjusted the oil pump here. There's a little, you want to make sure you tighten down the little retaining nut there, 10 millimeter, and then this is the actual adjuster. So I put mine just a tick ahead on the rich side where it gets just a little bit more oil than normal. Otherwise, you can line them straight up. I just like mine to be just a little bit ahead. So this is where I'm at now. You can use your phone or a mirror to take a picture of it if you can't see it. But this is what it looks like. Well, if I can get a break from this wind here, I can shoot a little bit more video. Might be a little bit loud, but what I'm doing here is gonna connect the oil down to the oil pump using this hose, Eddiker clamps, and this filter. Okay, we've got our ear clamps on there on the filter, and then right down here. It's one place you don't want to mess around with. You can use zip ties, but these stainless steel ear clamps are way more reliable, and the oil system's definitely not something you want coming apart on you, or you'll blow the engine. So now we're gonna fill the tank up with a little bit of oil. We're not gonna fill it all the way up. I could not find, I didn't want to pay for the one-piece tank. Maybe I should have. So I'm not gonna fill it up to the seam there. I'm just gonna fill it up about halfway, and then we're gonna bleed it and get oil all the way down to the pump. We're gonna go ahead and move forward here and make sure our carburetors fit right. This is not how they're gonna go, but they are oriented correctly. They'll just be flipped down and forward. But I wanna make sure the cable fits. These are the white carburetors, so the cable comes into the back. And just want to make sure my fuel lines and everything are going to fit up. Those all look good. And then to put this cable linkage on, if you hadn't ever seen this before, this is true for a lot of these cable linkages, is you put the barrel in first, and then you push that cable in through the little slot like that, and then it wraps around the cam. So that's true for a lot of this, oil pumps, carburetors, etc. So just doing a little test fitting on this, and then I'm gonna put the exhaust pipe in, because what I'm gonna do is, in the end, I'm gonna completely put the exhaust pipe in, and I'm gonna put the carburetors in last, because I don't want to use that dorky little wrench to try to tighten down the exhaust manifold. I'm going to torque it down the right way. Got our linkage tightened down there, and you just want to make sure when you squeeze on the throttle like this, not only does that happen, but you also want to make sure that your oil pump is working in tandem. That's really important. So from here, I'm just going to connect up the fuel lines, and I'm going to connect up this model already had they removed the choke and they replaced it with a primer. which kind of unfortunate, but I'm fine with. I'll just work with that. But I'm going to go ahead and connect these things back up to these nipples. And I try to use Edgar clamps, these stainless steel clamps like you see here. Those are the best you can use. I use those everywhere I possibly can. The only places I don't use them are places where I know I'm going to be taking them on and off a lot, and it's very hard to get the tool in there to remove them and replace them. So there's only a few spots like that. And then this is another one. You can see here that, you know, I've used them here, but this is a primer. This is not a critical system here, right? So I'm fine with using that. If my primer doesn't work, that's not the end of the world. The engine's not going to die or anything like that. But a lot of the other things, though, I like to use the Edgar clamps. Okay, so we got the carburetors in place, not permanently. There's no gaskets in there. I just want to make sure everything's lining up right. We went ahead and put the battery in and connected the starter motor as well as the front 2 grounds to the magneto cover there like they should be. And we're just going to do a little test check. Make sure we hear the 2 beeps, and then gonna bump it